So we're going to go over how I remove the power takeoff shaft on my SM. This is a US model SM, so it has a different power takeoff shaft than the European versions. And in order to get this off, we're going to do it the simplest way. This end will remove these two bolts that go through the flange on the shaft. And on this end, we're going to remove the bolts that go into the pulley, nothing else. Now these are real tight, so we want to loosen these first. Then we can take these two bolts out. Once those bolts are out, we'll be able to, we're going to leave them in here to keep these spacers from falling out. And then we'll be able to rotate the shaft, of course all the accessories, and get to each of these bolts without fighting the one that's hidden down here with the wrenches. We're going to start by taking the intake tube off if you have one. A lot of cars have K&N filters, what have you, but you got to get this, you want to have access to this area. So to get these bolts off, you need a 17mm ratcheting wrench, or socket wrench. It can be difficult to get on there with, especially the one back in the corner, with a regular wrench. So I'm just loosening them. I'm not trying to get them all the way out. Just want them loose because I'm going to use a motorized electric wrench to pull them all the way out. So now we're going to pull them all the way out, but we're going to leave them in place. I'll get that last one in a minute. So now we need to take these two bolts here loose. These are the ones that are going into the flange coming from the engine. Don't mess with the ones on the shaft itself. So we'll loosen these up. You see how I have limited travel there. And those are long bolts, so it can take you quite a while. So instead, use an electric wrench. Press it in so that the bolt doesn't come out as you get it loose. It'll stop making progress. Put your finger on the bolt to keep it from coming out of this flange, and just leave it sitting there. Okay, it stopped making progress out, so we leave it there. We don't want to lose those bolts and washers, and those are easily lost in the depths of Citroën hidden spaces. So what we'll do, we'll wrap it in duct tape. The purpose here is to keep all of these spacers together and to retain the bolts. So don't get it onto the flange that's on the engine. Just a simple wrap like that. Now we're ready. Now what we've achieved here is I can now spin this and get to the one that was hiding from me. Okay. Now it's loose. There are washers right here. You don't want to lose those washers. Put a magnet on it. Those are probably stainless steel, so they're not magnetic, so I'm going to grab them with my fingertips. Got to get the bolt out of the way. Put it back on the bolt. Set the bolts on the side. Do it again. Bring this to the top. Grab the washer and ease it out. One more time. Now we're ready to pull this off. What you want to do is the two bolts that are still attached, that's the flex point for the flex plate and the shaft, or the flanges here. So we'll get those perpendicular to or parallel to the pulling side. And we can just pull it forward and pull it out like that. They'll flex and the flange will drop out and you can pull the whole shaft out. With the bolts that are left in there in the vertical position, this will allow it to flex. You see how that flexes? So now we can just pull it out. Okay. What makes this work is there's a flange or a lip on the spacer here, and it fits into this groove. So you can, that's what allows me to rotate it, but then it also catches and makes the position right. That's how you take it out. All right, we're gonna put this guy back together. You see we've got this still all assembled thanks to the tape. It's still all captured. So that's what we want. We're gonna put this with the ears in between these two spots because this gives you a millimeter or so of extra room. Now we want to put it in with the bolts that are here horizontal to the plane that we're going to attack. Okay. So what we want to do is orient the pulley so that we can fit it in there like this with this starting bolt there. Put these in between, okay, like that. It gives you a little bit more room. Again, keeping these bolts vertical. You can push on this, it'll flex it just enough to get it past the flange on the engine. And then just work it in there. Okay, I didn't get this position quite right. There we go. That's all there is to it. You heard it snap in there. It's got a little bit of pressure coming from here because it wasn't in line. Once we've got it where we need it, we can put the bolts back in place. Stick the bolt in there. And while I'm doing this, let me mention that you can put a large, have yourself a large worm gear clamp, like a hose clamp, that you can put around the guibo. This guibo is new old stock. It's in good shape and it's the right size. But sometimes the guibo, especially from the Izetta, might be a little bit large or misaligned. And you can use that clamp, a 4-inch clamp, to squeeze it down and make everything go really super easy. Oh, that's right, put it up here. Okay, bolts are still in place. So what we'll do is we'll leave the tape on there until we get it lined up with the holes. There, I can feel it drop in. That's it. Now we can undo the tape. We still have the washers in both places. You can't see it there, but I can feel it. It's there. And that's the important part. That's a 10 millimeter. these down. And then make sure these are tight. There it is. What did that take? 5 minutes?